Yes, so Kimberly Hale is here from Go and Play Stables. Go and Play Stables is a standardbred rescue and rehoming program based out of the Peterborough, Northumberland, Ontario, Canada area. It's a registered Canadian charity dedicated to taking standardbreds off the track and giving them a wonderful second career. The goal is to promote the use of standardbreds in sport and to educate the general public to acknowledge the breed as being suitable for more than just harness racing. They rely solely on donations and fundraisers, and none of their volunteers receive any form of compensation. And in 6 years, they have found homes for more than 100 standardbred horses.
Woo-hoo.
I think, yeah, this is awesome. So, Kimberly, are you here?
I am.
Oh, it is so great to talk to you. I've worked with a few standardbreds in my training career, and I have found them to be such smart and level-headed horses. How did you get involved in all of this?
Well, I grew up in the racing industry. My family raced standardbreds just kind of as a hobby. It wasn't a career thing or anything.
Right.
And so I had standardbreds my whole life. And in 2014, I had to find a new home for my own standardbred. And I had a friend who was involved with Go and Play Stable, and I'd never heard of them before. I kind of lived in a bubble up until that point. And she said, well, they could take her. And I got talking to the lady that runs the rescue, Sarah Waldrum, and she said, well, why don't you come volunteer? You can board your standardbred and you can keep her. And the rest is kind of history after that.
Wow, yeah. Yeah, it sounds like you just really fell in love with the mission of the program, and because you're on the board now, aren't you?
Yes, I am. I'm now their secretary. So I've kind of worked my way up from just cleaning the stalls and looking after the horses to doing more of the paperwork. So,
how many horses do you have there at any one time?
We don't. Unfortunately, last fall we had a big drought here in Ontario, and hay became very expensive, and it was just too hard to keep a facility going.
Got it.
So we closed down our facility. So we run on foster homes.
Got it. Yeah.
But when we had a facility, we had anywhere upwards of 15 horses at a time. Right now, we have 5 or 6 that are in foster homes. But a big part of our program is having owners contact us that either off the racetrack or riding horse owners that contact and are looking for a new home for their standardbred, and we find it right directly from where they are. So there's less moving involved for the horse, which is better for them anyway.
Right. Yeah, I'm familiar with several rescues in the Tennessee area, and I know a lot of them work on a foster system as well. It seems to work out, fairly well. Now, what kind of jobs do these horses get after they're rescued? I mean, as I said, I've worked with standardbreds. I absolutely love the breed, and I think people don't understand that. Boy, they can be really great for a lot of things other than just harness racing. What other things do you find that they
are? A majority of our horses that get adopted out go to be pleasure trail horses. They're so incredibly smart, and they've seen so much that they're great on trails because they're not spooky. They're very level-headed.
They are.
But we have horses that have been adopted out for dressage. We have one that was adopted out recently that's starting an eventing career. Pleasure driving. Pleasure driving is kind of a big one. Anybody that just wants a horse to drive around just to have some fun that maybe isn't a rider, especially older people, they definitely love them for pleasure horses. We have some that have been adopted out for Western gaming. I mean, from one end of the spectrum to the other, they've been adopted out. We had one that's adopted out that's in training to be a thoroughbred pony horse at a racetrack. So they've literally been adopted for just about everything.
So if you're a standardbred horse, you either trot or you pace. Is there a preference for one over the other? Is there a bias for specific trainers or people who want to adopt? Do they prefer a trotter or a pacer?
A lot of people really want trotters because a lot of people find the pacers are very hard to retrain, which to us isn't true. It's just a little more patience. The trotter already has the trot gait down. Sometimes pacers, some of them will pick up a trot naturally. Some of them need some trot pulls and some time to figure out that it's okay to trot. But a lot of horses that we get going through are pacers because a lot of trotters, people will buy them. They'll go out and buy them right off the racetrack, and so they're not the ones that are really looking for homes. So the majority of horses we get are pacers, but I find that there's really people have a bias towards the trotter, but anybody that's willing to take a chance on a pacer, they find that there's no difference at the end of the day.
Yeah. I live in Tennessee, and gaited horses are really big in the South, and I know a lot of people prefer a gaited horse in that part of the country. So I don't know if it's the same where you are, but sounds like maybe not. But if you like a gaited horse, I've ridden a pacer, and once you kind of get used to that gait, it's very, very comfortable, I think.
It is, and a lot of people that have pacers that do pace, they say they love their gait. My own mare, she can trot, and she does trot, but she was a free-legged pacer when she raced, so learning to trot has been a very slow process, and her pace is wonderfully smooth as long as she goes slow. If she goes fast, not so much. But
with a lot of horses that trot, a fast trot on some horses is not comfortable either.
No, it's definitely not.
Yeah. So how do people get involved in this program? I mean, I think Go and Play Stables is such a needed thing, because you don't hear a lot about standard-bred rescues. You hear about all different other kinds of horse rescues, but not standard-bred.
They're like
rescues.
the ugly stepchild below thoroughbreds, because you always hear about the thoroughbreds and not the standardbreds. And they're not all jugheads anymore. 30 years ago, we all thought they were jugheads because they had those great big heads. But they don't look like that anymore. They're not that anymore. They're such good horses. And they are. They're probably, if you're taking brains, they're better than the thoroughbreds, brain-wise.
Yeah. They're very, as you said, they're very.
Stop here.
Yeah.
Disclaimer. Please send your complaints to
Jennifer at horseradionetwork.com. She handles all the complaints. So anything I say, you can just complain to her. But it's true, right? I mean, isn't it true, Kimberly? That's always been the case, and I'm not quite sure why.
Yes, they are definitely. We have many of our standardbreds that people mistake for warm bloods now, and thoroughbreds, and even one of them was mistaken for a quarter horse, except for the brand on the side of their neck. That's the only thing that makes the difference, and they blend in. When you see them in open shows, you wouldn't know which one's the standardbred except for the Freeze brand on the side of their neck. So
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, and they, as I said several times already, I really do like the breed, and having trained a few of them, they're very easygoing, they're very smart, they're very sensible.
Before we go any further, I happen to know that, Kimberly, you have a retired standardbred of your own, 11-year-old mare, right?
I do.
I got to have you say the name.
Her registered name is Hoochie Goochie Mama. I call her Hooch, or I also call her Donkey Ears, because she has massive, massive standardbred ears, and she looks part mule. So a lot of people like to joke that she's a mule, not a standardbred. But
this is a race.
I don't know how she got her name.
This is a race caller's dream. This name, calling that down the back stretch.
Gucci Mama.
It is. Unfortunately, she wasn't a great racehorse, so they never got to use it a whole lot in great contact. But it is, and I don't know how she got that name. She came to me with it, and I really wish that I would know, but I've never looked into trying to find out.
Yeah,
but,
that would be interesting.
It's definitely an interesting name, and she has a very interesting personality. So with the name, all I have to do, she raced a lot at our local racetrack, at the Downs in Peterborough, and all I have to do is, and she's been retired since 2011, and all I have to do is walk down the back stretch, and if somebody happens to ask what my standardbred's name is, and I tell them, everybody knows who she is, because she was known for not being the greatest personality in the world, and now